The second seat at certain Formula One teams in 2025 has been a revolving door of changes. It's not uncommon to see a driver switch mid-season, but to see two different teams doing it is quite rare. It started with Liam Lawson being dumped for Yuki Tsunoda back in April, and then shortly thereafter, Jack Doohan being replaced by Franco Colapinto at Alpine. But it looks as if those revolving doors will keep on turning and hitting these drivers on the way out, because recent developments show that we could be in for another driver change. As if the situation at Alpine wasn't already a joke, rumors again are swirling about the end of Franco Colapinto's time with the Enstone team. His recent crash in qualifying and his DNF at the British Grand Prix compounded what has been a disappointing stint at the French team so far. So will Alpine make their second driver move of 2025? And if so, does that mean Colapinto's F1 career is over? Well, it's the perfect time to do a comparison between the Alpine drivers, as we now have 6 races each worth of data, so let's dive into the numbers. When we look at the head-to-head between Doohan's 6 races and Colapinto's, it is quite even in almost every category. They both have a best finish of 13th, their best grid is about even, albeit Colapinto getting the edge thanks to a grid penalty promotion. Doohan, however, has shown a bit more pace out of the two. He's qualified on average in 15th versus Colapinto's 16th, and perhaps the most important stat of all is the average qualifying gap to Pierre Gasly. In 6 races, Colapinto is on average 0.58 tenths behind his teammate versus Doohan, who was 0.45 tenths slower. One of the factors that went against Doohan was his crashes he had in the first part of the season, particularly in Australia and then Japan. But Colapinto hasn't really reversed that trend in his stint either. He had a crash in his debut at Imola, and then most recently in qualifying at Silverstone. So when we look at the numbers, we cannot honestly say that Colapinto has been an upgrade over Jack Doohan. Coming off the hype of his Williams stint last year, the Argentine has disappointed so far in his time at Alpine. It's not all his fault. Being thrusted into the middle of a season with the team you're unfamiliar with and no testing is not an easy feat. Just ask Yuki Tsunoda. But the problem for Colapinto is that in F1, results matter, and there is always someone waiting in the wings to take your seat. But if Alpine does decide to replace Colapinto, does that mean his F1 career is all but over? Not necessarily. He will have more chances down the line as he is still a young driver, but losing his Alpine drive would really hurt a potential return to F1. After not delivering on the initial hype, many teams might choose to look the other way in favor of another young promising talent. It would be a shame for Colapinto, as Alpine and their shockingly bad management is mostly to blame for this situation. The clown show was complete when Briatore returned to the squad as team principal, and now, the collapse of any credibility they had left is complete. 2 young driver careers hurt, with their confidence at an all-time low, and now the question is, what happens next? If Alpine decide to make a move, is Doohan returning for the rest of the season? Or how about Valtteri Bottas, who's been in the rumor mill? You would think for a team sitting dead last in the standings that would be bad enough, but you get the feeling that things at Alpine will get a lot worse before they get any better. What's your take on the Alpine driver situation, and do you think they will replace Colapinto this season? Comment your thoughts down below, and remember to subscribe to the channel for weekly F1 content.